Greetings from Ghana and San Francisco. I guess it's 6:03 a.m. in San Francisco. That's
Yes.
an early morning for Cynthia. And then here we have a lot of participants across the globe, not just Africa. We have participants from Nigeria in the registration. We have participants from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Togo, from DRC, from South Africa, from France, from UK, from USA. And then we have one from South Africa who has a name Jaffe. We don't know if it's in the Jaffe family.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We unrelated.
Ah, yeah. So we look up, we look much welcoming all these people here, but
Yeah.
so far we have about 13 people. So we hope to get more people online as we start. So all microphones are muted. It's a kind of house rules. All microphones are muted, and you should put your question in the chat box. It's a conversation though, but to make sure that the speaker is able to finish before addressing questions, you put your questions in the chat box. There will be time for question and answers, so feel free to put in your question and we'll answer for you. And we are pleased to have you, Cynthia, and thank you so much for getting up early in San Francisco for this. So, as for before we start, we are living in a turbulent business environment. For family businesses, I call it kind of a VUCA times 10 or VUCA raised to the power or the number
Yeah.
you can put there, because um, together with the challenges of the normal corporate environment, family businesses have to also couple with family dynamics,
Right.
and we are talking about issues that can come up of ownership. For example, when a business leader passes, now who are the owners? What happens to the family in such moments? How are relationships fostered in such situations? When it comes to the business, you have challenges like non-family employees or non-family executives having stereotypes for family business or family employees. And even family employees may also have some reservations about how non-family members are compensated. There's a lot that happens in a family business, and then even in the family itself, there are some people who don't work in the business, but also have a lot of influence on decision making in the business. So you have all these things playing the family dynamics, ownership issues, business issues, all combining with the corporate challenges. So we are here to have a discussion. We are here to talk about how resilient families navigate change. And the only thing that is constant is change. And it's kind of a paradox. You have to change in order for you to be successful. And for us to talk about this is an amazing speaker. And I met her in Boston in October, and she dashed me a book that she has co-authored with Dennis Jaffe, Living Your Values. We'll talk more. If you need copies, kindly uh, send me a chat and I'll show you how to get it. So we have Cynthia Scott.
Yeah.
Cynthia is a San Francisco-based executive coach and advisor to leaders about transformational culture change, global leadership development, and behavioral resilience. As a founder of Changeworks Global and an executive for Saatchi and Saatchi S, Lee Hess Harrison, Towers Sperrin, and Presidio Graduate School, Dr. Scott has translated her experience into writing books and designing capability development programs, assessment tools, and models to enable people to become creative sources of resilience for their teams and organizations. She is the author of 14 books. Among them are Living Your Values, Leadership for Sustainability and Change, Take This Work and love it. I love this one. Getting the organization to change, rekindling commitment, managing organizational change, and organizational mission, vision, and values. Cynthia has a BA in anthropology from UC Berkeley, Regent Scholar, an M.P.H in health planning from the University of Michigan, and a Ph.D. clinical psychology from Fielding Graduate University. She's a professor emeritus of leadership at Presidio Graduate School and has been recognized as an outstanding faculty member, having served over 1,400 MBA and MPA students in a decade. Thank you, Cynthia. We are pleased to have you. We hand over the microphone to you, as we always say. Over to you, Cynthia. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I catch it, Dennis. Thank you. We toss it halfway across the world, from Ghana to San Francisco. I'm very pleased to be here with you all, and I'm very excited to have people from all over, different countries, and as I understand, in the fields of finance and education, energy, transportation, manufacturing, healthcare, and hospitality. And it really fits with my work over the years has been as a global change navigator. I get those calls that say, oh, we're having a change, come and do something, or we want a different culture, or can you help us with this mess? And so those are the kinds of things that I really thrive on and enjoy. And what I'm going to do today with you is bring you some models and some tools, because change is a big, messy thing, and there's lots of things you can do to kind of navigate your way through. But I'm using today resilience, because what I find, and I've been curious all my life, how come some people do better than others? And whether this be, teachers in a school or people who work in a warehouse, how come some people do better? And this is what really led me to my research. My dissertation research was on, people who did well. And we were just in those times learning more about it. And now we have neuroscience on top of that. So we not only know the kinds of things that a person does, we know what their brain is doing. So I'm going to bring you those things today. Don't worry, there's not going to be a lot of things to remember. And I think you'll walk out of here. My as Dennis says, my intention here is to help you survive the continuous shocks, and in some ways put them in focus, because they're not going to go away. There is no new normal that we're going to go back to. We are going to have to figure this out. And actually, I was funny. I pulled down a book that I worked on, and I don't put it on my list, but it's called Thriving Navigating the Badlands. And this is about thriving in the decade of radical transformation.
Mhm.
And I worked with Mary O'Hara Devereaux, the author of this, and we put this out in 2004. And it was like, okay, everybody said, okay, it's going to be bumpy. Well, it's still bumpy.
Mhm.
And it's going to be, and it's bumpy.
You
And the
said
good
in
news,
2012?
2004. No, no,
Four.
no. Oh,
And
no,
then,
no. We've been at this a long time. We've been
ah,
telling people it's going to be a rough ride. I mean, if you
hmm,
read population dynamics, if you look at global trends, if my co-author Mary O'Hara Devereaux works a lot in China then, and
hmm.
that was China was just starting to come alive. So let's look at what we're going to do today. Okay, now this is the okay. Here we go. I just have to. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you some things that help you navigate. And we'll apply it to families, but we'll also apply it to persons, because persons make up families. So what we're going to do, here's how we're going to structure it today. We're going to do three things. This is what Dennis has asked me to do. So this is good to have this focus. Real world strategies for leading change. and how to make things happen in your organizations. Also, how to protect the relationships that make the performance. Because really, most of change is about the people, it's not about the plan. And so this is how do you understand why people are kind of having the resistance that they have. And then strategies and steps for next gens, people coming in, and founders to be able to move things ahead right now. Right now, the other thing I want to caution is it may take a while. It may not be right now, but you are on a process. So just as we are navigating or crossing a territory, you have to kind of keep certain things in mind as you keep it moving ahead. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm glad that we're going to have questions. But one of the things I'm going to give you a picture of, I don't see this out of my door, but I like this picture because it's the Golden Gate Bridge. And when I get ready to talk about change, I do this short exercise because what I find is if I'm going to talk about change, people are all kind of like, oh, 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 they're excited and they're maybe a little concerned. So what we're going to do is we're going to help you overcome the natural stressful reaction to talking about change. It'll take 1 minute, maybe 1.5 minutes. And wherever you are, if this does not, do not do this if you're in your car. Do not, because I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze. And I'm going to ask you to shift your attention just for 1 minute from your busy thoughts, all the concerns that we've kind of talked about, and just begin to focus on your body. So we often forget that we have a body, and sit with your spine in a dignified manner and feel the weight of your body on whatever seat you're sitting in. And feel the weight of your feet on the floor. And take a few nice deep breaths and notice the rising and falling of your chest or stomach with each breath. And now gently rub 2 fingertips against each other with such attention that you can feel the fingertip ridges on both fingers. And notice any texture changes from one area to another. And now bring your attention to the sounds around you and notice the ones that are farthest away. Sounds closest to you, perhaps even the sound of your own breathing or your own heartbeat. And once again, notice the rising and falling of your chest or stomach with each breath. So come back to this session. Everybody open your eyes up again. And basically, I took this moment to give you your brain a break and to help you focus your attention on what we're going to talk about in terms of resilience. But one of the things that we often forget that we are in our bodies that are very old, and we're used to, in some ways, we were very small people we started out and we were very fearful. And so change is something that is very fear producing to many people. Now, Dennis kind of jumped me on this one because here we are, VUCA. I thought I would put VUCA in because everybody says VUCA, and what does it really mean? And I think it's fascinating that it happened a long time ago, 1987. Warren Bennis and Bert Nannis talked about VUCA. And then it got picked up by the US military, by the War College. And it basically was a way of shorthand for talking about all this volatility. And it was originally made as a model to describe the uncertain, complex, and ambiguous multilateral world that was resulting from the end of the Cold War. so, so here we are. We've got something that has been, VUCA means all kinds of disruption to people. And if you look at it just for 1 second here, it's all the volatility. What we thought was there is not going to be the same. And if I think of my grandma who was born before there were cars, it's like how do you, figure out all this stuff? And the time that the volatility will last is unknown. And I just every time when I work with my MBA students, I say, welcome to the tribe of change makers. We're going to live in this time. And we're going to do the best we can as our small human animals to deal with all kinds of things. Try being an American now. It's pretty volatile. And looking out at, we don't want to go to any wars. The uncertainty is basically what you thought was cause and effect is moving around. And all the people who are having AI kind of start just taking apart graphic design, all kinds of careers. We thought if you went into this profession, you could have a career. Well, all of this is moving. The uncertainty is really, bothering us. And the complexity. Everything is connected. We learned that during COVID, supply chain and you thought you had a process. I do people who are, project managers thinks you can put a process on something and then it blows up. So making sense, predicting what's going to happen and the ambiguity, we don't know. We are in unknown territory. And we have to, in some ways, be kind to ourselves about how hard that really is. And as we're raising children or we are trying to lead people in an organization or a family, this is not easy. So I just want to put this out here, really echo, this is the Badlands. We are in this and it's all over. It isn't some special part of the globe. And with environmental changes, we've got people going under the water. I mean, all kinds of things happening. So this is a good time for resilience. And it's good to kind of bring forward what do we know about what people do. And I also want to talk just very briefly, and I drew these little pictures here, that there's three kinds of change. So when people say change, oftentimes they mean developmental, single loop, oh, I detect an error and I fix it or I build a behavior, or I build a capacity, or I teach people how to use AI. That fixes things and it's single loop learning. That's easy. We've got a lot of experience with how to do that. The second is this transitional, and it's double loop. It kind of iterates over time. You kind of make it to here, and then you go to the next stage and the next stage. And it creates all kinds of shifts in structure, process, rules, KPIs, all this stuff has to be redone. The transformational is what we haven't had as much time and experience with. And it's triple loop because it goes and then something else happens and then something else happens. So this is the kind of changes that most families and organizations are experiencing. Developmental and transitional, we have a lot of experience with. This transformational stuff, which is at the level of values and culture and mindset and how we think about making relationships, that's what I'm going to talk about today, because we know how to make this other kinds of change, but we're learning, and I want to bring you some ways of thinking about how to live through transformational change.
Mm.
So, as Dennis said kind of briefly, it's like these are family. Oh, and this transformational change takes more time. I'm going to say that emphatically here because everybody says, oh, I want you to change. well, change at the developmental or transitional, you can get through that. But this is an ongoing, like an accordion. It just keeps going out and in. And that's how we're going to live. And so the people who are going to make it across this, the businesses, the families, and I see tremendous resilience in family businesses because you have some things that other businesses don't have, which is the values, the vision, the culture, and the longevity. So I see a lot of the family businesses have a lot to teach us
Mm,
about how to go through transformational change. And just, I see people, developmental, prepare the next gen, deal with the tech, set up a family council. We need this, those are single. Transitions is role shifting, board of directors, oh, we're changing out this. Leadership succession, as Dennis mentioned. But the transformational stuff is, you're all dealing with market disruption, global disruption, business cycles are varying. Family, in New Zealand that is like trying to figure out, what's going to be the price of oil in the next century. It's like trying to make these changes. So a talent acquisition, married ins, new people coming in. Oh my gosh, what do they bring? And all of this over. The other thing is a lot of generational renewal. A lot of family businesses sent their kids to overseas education and they come home. And and they bring in a whole new way of
yeah,
seeing the world. And that's like, whoa.
yeah,
So that's you, Dennis. So
yeah. Yeah.
and many, many others. And you have many, many people. So basically, that's where we are. And we know we're here. So, how do we protect these relationships and performance? Because if you don't protect the relationships, people wig out and they can't focus, and you can't get momentum, and you can't get your strategy implemented. So, the biggest problem with change is, as I've said before, it's not the plan, it's the people. And this is the part that they did not teach a lot about in business school, or, we had a lot of command and control, and you do this and just get on with it. And probably around in the 80s, 90s, whatever, people started to really want to involve people and pay attention because remember when human capital, we started talking about human capital, people were valuable and you couldn't just go get some more if they got upset. So we started into this kind of the impact it has on people and families and teams. So let's go down.
Yeah.
And this part is kind of this is David Rock and all of his early work in neuro leadership. And I studied with him a little while, and it was like he was really very pivotal. He made it understandable. Um, because basically change hurts the brain. And it hurts our brain that everybody has because change creates social threat.
Mm,
You know, it's as impactful as a physical threat. So if I punched you really hard, you would feel it. Certain things would go off in your brain.
yeah.
If I threaten you socially, same place in your brain goes off. So it is painful to say, oh, we're going to reorganize. Oh, we're going to ship all the 4-inch wafer fabs out of Silicon Valley. Oh, we're going to take oh, we're going to bring everything back from China. Whoa, that kind of thing really. And as a leader, you are a social threat promoter.
Mm,
That's what you do. You bring new ideas. You say, I think we should go this way. And everybody goes, because their brain is going, it likes the patterns. This is why people love the way it is. It's not because they are not progressive, it's because their brain likes categories. The
mm,
brain spends a lot of time. I mean, it's like, typing. You want to change the keyboard, you want to really upset lots of people
mm,
because you've gotten some fluency, whether it be driving stick shift, driving automatic, whatever your basic patterns worked for you. And you basically want the change to go away. Because the other thing it does, it scares you a little bit because you begin to see, oh, this is where I want to go and this is where I am now. And it makes you feel like, oh, there's a gap. Oh, I'm not gonna, oh, I will never keep up with all this, da, da, da. I'm worried. I'm worried. So basically, we have so much change, the chronic stimulation, the overload, it's creating all kinds of fear. What if we fail? What if we can't get onto the new platform? What if we can't, manage, this or that? And the Darwinian challenge is we will fail and we won't make it. I mean, that's in our little human hearts is like if
Mm.
we can't figure out how to find food, get water,
Yeah.
get out of here, we're built for this worry.
Mm.
So we would never have made it if we weren't built to notice. Don't eat that, snake. This will bite you. It's like we were very good at noticing. And the other thing why the brain hates it, it takes energy to relearn a pattern.
Mm.
Brain hates that because you'd rather have energy for something else, but learning the latest upgrade of ChatGPT is like not pleasant. So here's what David Rock brought us. And this is the first tool that will help you kind of understand. He created the SCARF model, SCARF. And basically, and the article that I read in 2006, which was wonderful, it was in Strategy and Business. He put this in a business magazine. It
Mm.
wasn't over in neuroscience. He said, let's figure out how to make organizational change work. But we
Mm.
had to decode and understand that what you're doing to people is you are scarfing them. You are you are pushing on their status. Oh, I thought I was a manager. No, you're not a manager. You're now a team engagement, whatever. It's like my status. Do I get a desk with a drawer? Do I get a door? How does it look to other people? Certainty, we talked about certainty in VUCA, can I rely on this? Will I be doing this in a month? Our ability to predict the future. Where do I park my car in the parking lot? What building do I go to? Autonomy is that part of being able to control. Do I get to make choices? Do I get to actually, funny little, no, I won't tell that story. I will tell that story. Uh, I was a candy striper. I think I was very interested in this way back, when you volunteer in the hospital and you wear a little outfit and you take around the little snacks. And what was very interesting is I would always get to the end of the hall and I didn't have the snack the person wanted, whether it was the pudding or the thing or whatever, and they would get upset. What I started to understand is that was the only choice they had all day. Everything else was done to them, but they wanted their applesauce. And so this notion of autonomy is very important. The last two are relatedness. And this makes sense is how safe do we feel with others? Who do I work with? How do I know them? Do they know my birthday? Fairness, how fair we perceive the exchange between people to be. And I'll tell you, fairness is the most upsetting. If you
Mm.
really want to make people upset, and this goes deeply into family business, this is why I hear people say, it could be fair, but it may not always be equal.
Mm.
Because this is what the brain is doing. And the thing that a leader can do, see, you can buffer each of these things. If you're thinking about a change, an innovation, a new, some quick pivot to deal with some VUCA thing that's happening, run it down this list. How does it scarf? How does it upset people's status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness? This will tell you how much upset and resistance, as if resistance comes from nothing. It comes from your brain being threatened.
Mm.
So this model will help you always think about SCARF. Think about What am I doing? And how can I buffer? Here's the other thing. If I'm going to mess with people's certainty, or here's what I used to say, always say, it's don't, if you're doing a huge reorganization in your organization, don't change the parking lot, the cafeteria, or the bathrooms. People will go crazy. They just can't have, they can't because their patterns are broken and the brain hates it. I hate the grocery store when they change where the food is. It makes me crazy
Mm,
because I can get in and out very quickly. But imagine you have 1,000 people and you are saying, "Oh, let's try this way of doing things. Let's have meetings this way." Just understand that they're not crazy or bad people. You have scarfed them.
mm,
And you will, as a leader, you will continually scarf yourself because you will keep growing and learning and changing. So David Rock, very good. He wrote The Brain at Work, an early book, and he's really been a great kind of understander of all this because basically you want to reduce the resistance and improve the readiness for change. And what leaders are always concerned about is they don't know enough, so they don't say anything. Well, you must tell them what you know, even if you say, I know 10% of what's going to happen. Give them little bits of certainty, give them little pieces. I know that we have to close the plant by here, or I know we're going to have the new showroom app open here. Tell them what you do know, tell them what you don't know it. But the leader often thinks they'll think I'm weak and I'm not in charge and I don't know what I'm doing. And the truth is true. But you're 2 steps ahead. So the other thing is increased choice, involvement, and participation. If you have no, like the person who wanted the applesauce at the end of the hall, you have to say, you have to help people have some choice, the autonomy. And you have to ask them, even if you can't change the decision, people enjoy and feel better being asked. Now, don't mess with them if you have no chance of it, making a difference. But this kind of asking and having town hall meetings or talking about, what do you think about, me retiring in the next, da, da, da. Ask those questions and then build the belonging relationships. Have picnics, have potlucks, bring people together, bring in the donuts, whatever it is. It's like always, my thing is feed people, bring some food. People say they won't return my calls. I said, have you gone over with a box of cookies? Did you reach out to this person besides sending them emails? So this is the kind of thing where the scarf thing will help you. So what is resilience? Let's go, because everybody talks about resilience, and let's kind of give it some thickness here. Basically, resilience, and if you look at the literature and the research that came from a guy named Antonovsky, and he studied people who survived prisoner of war camps and really tough times. I mean, we're not talking about, oh, I stubbed my toe. We're talking about resilience is I had a horrible family and, I got out at 15 or whatever. And, that kind of thing. It's deep, deep human survival and recovering from adversity and being able to make it up again and get back up. It's oftentimes people say, "Oh, I'm a leader. I'm never gonna stub my toe." Yeah, you're gonna fall down. It's how you get up. So this is the second thing of resilience is it's an engineering term. It's the ability of the substance to spring back. How much resilience does this material and the material science people, so it's used in material science and it's used in leadership and management. And basically it's like stuff happens and how do you adapt? What do you do? And it really is the capacity to survive the worst day and keep going. So whatever you could imagine that to be. Now, I'm going to ask you a question here because you are all resilient. See, we forget that we have been through all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to give you just maybe 30 seconds, and I want you to think about a time in your life. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask anybody to share. We're going to ask you some questions about your experience, but I'm helping you build your own model of resilience and remember what you already know. So think back to a time. Everybody's got one. It could be way back. It could be yesterday. So, and remember what you did to restore yourself. And again, it probably wasn't one thing, it probably took a while. So, all of you out there thinking about your experience, I'm going to ask you some questions. Did you, in this time, have to make sense of what was happening? Did you have to get a new story? Oh, I'm not a this, I'm a that. Or I'm no longer this role. My status has changed. I no longer am part of this family business. What is the story? How did you make sense of it? What did you enable yourself to say about it? And did you feel noticed and connected to other people? Did someone appreciate you? Did someone kind of pull you aside and say, I see what you're doing? How did you calm your body and mind? What did you do to kind of regulate your scarfiness? How did you calm yourself down? Did you sit down and, walk outside? Did you make vision boards? What did you do to kind of calm yourself? Did you take up a sport? Did you, start walking outside with the dog? I don't know. Did you take direct action on something that you didn't have permission? You didn't wait for permission. Did you just do something? It could be small, it could be big, but did you kind of initiate something? And did you stretch yourself? Did you do something that you didn't think you were capable of doing? So these things are things that we already know. Now, maybe it does, not all five of them, but this is kind of the components of what resilient people do. And I'm going to describe it a little more in terms of action, because this pattern you can see, whether it be the kid at school or somebody in your family or the family business. So it works from person to team to organization. You could even say it works for a continent or a state. What is California doing to make sense of what is happening? How are we supporting each other? How are we calming ourselves?
Mm.
So, read through this with the same kind of framework of resilience, because this is Antonovsky. Antonovsky came up with the first, all the colored ones, and then the neuroscience stuff is this, because we added neuroscience. We had to add a piece of understanding about, that's why mindfulness and presence and all this stuff is running around. We figured out, oh, we have to do something. We have to self-regulate. So basically, a couple things that help us. One is age does not predict resilience. So you say, oh, are old people more resilient? Or, elders, or, as young people? It's like, it is not a predictor. It is basically how much exposure this is all that grit stuff. It's like, have you been in things where you had to grow your capacity to recover? Or have you been helicopter parented and everyone has made it nice for you, and then all of a sudden, something has happened? So, and exposure and being on a trusted team, which is the people who can help you. Who's in your 2 a.m. club? Who can you call in the middle of the night when everything falls apart? So this is that environmental, social connectedness that makes us do better. And it rises, people quote, have more resilience. This is why leaders always think, oh, I'm very resilient, because you do. You have a leader role and you get more choice. You get more say in the thing. You're the planner. There's the doer and the done to. And where you are the done to of the change, you don't get as much choice. So the more choice, when I talked about choice, involvement, and participation, the more choice you give people, they do better. So this is why all that Japanese management drive decision making down to the floor, let people figure out the stuff they can, figure out. That gives more resilience and agility to an organization rather than everything has to come back to you. So that's why all this self-managed team stuff is so resilient. But it takes a lot of work to do that. You don't do that overnight and just hand out a book and say you're now self-managed. So the more you apply this to the people in your organization, one thing we did with the plant closure is we asked people, we had to option, we could either close after this cycle or do one more cycle. And for some people, it was like, oh, I want to be out free looking for my new thing. Other people wanted to finish. So we gave them that choice. That may not sound like a democracy or a silly kind of place to choose, but that little choice gave them a whole sense of agency. And rather than, the central office is saying we have to do, when do you want to start this? And you can say this week or next week. It doesn't have to be a big choice. What do you want now or tomorrow? you know, so that kind of, openness. And I've actually found, this works all over the world. This is not something that is just, it works with people who manufacture bicycles. It works with, it works in setting up, I was just, where was I? I was just working on something that was, you know, give, giving people a choice,
Mm.
a choice that you can really give them.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be the greatest choice, but it's like, this is why there's 31 flavors at the ice cream store, because people feel much more empowered to go in and choose their flavor. So it's about the applesauce lady in the hospital. It's like
Mm.
choice really helps people. Do you want this new park? Let's vote on this. How do you get people all to kind of be involved? And the other thing I want to say is this can be built with practice, attention, and feedback. We now know a whole bunch of stuff about resilience that we didn't know even 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's like getting this information out. We know what people do. So let's look at how we can build that. And this is my simple model of the stuff. And we've been talking about this before, but basically the 5 C's, Antonovsky had coherence, control, challenge, and connection. And David Rock and the others have added this centered capacity. So, and it doesn't matter where you start. There's no right place to start. I mean, remember when you're thinking, oh, I had a little more control, but I had no connection. Oh, I have lots of connection. I need to go over to centered capacity. This is kind of your navigational tool or a leadership development tool for yourself or your family. You can say, oh, our family is really good at dealing with challenges. We are wealth creating entrepreneurs, and we've got a lot of connection. But you know what? We don't have a very good story. We have no story. That's what coherence is. It's like, what are we telling people about what's going on? Why are we moving the plant from here to there? So this is your takeaway sheet. This is the resilience canvas. And
Mm.
basically, I'm going to just spend a few more minutes walking through this a little bit, and then we can open it up. But how you do this coherence thing, I'm going to just start at the top because that's where the person made my slides, and they started at the top. So, but it doesn't actually, I wish it didn't start at the top because it's the hardest one to do. Everybody wants values and purpose. They want a value statement. This is the hardest thing to do. So in some ways, I might say, kind of what we did, and I'm trying to get my cursor back here. We go back. It's like maybe you start with creating calm and balance. Maybe you start your meeting with, those like that exercise that I did, or I often, especially when people are going to talk about agreements or governance, they need to calm themselves down first because they come in with all kinds of, fight or flight stuff going on in their bodies. So it doesn't matter where you start, but I'll just say that it's harder to start with meaning and purpose, or it's easier to start with meaning because maybe that's the enduring thing. Maybe your values, your mission, your vision are what you've got, and you're in your third generation, and you need to tweak it a little bit. That's why all this work in legacy is like, what did the first generation, how can we pull that forward? How do we take what we learned? What's the meaning and the purpose? What would grandma say about the business now? And go back to your core values, reaffirm what matters to you or what has always mattered, even in tough times. And reframe your past experiences, not about we made big mistakes. This is this is our entrepreneurial, that Schwab, actually, Charles Schwab tells the story to itself about when Chuck Schwab went to Hong Kong and bet the company, basically. It's like he had to get money and he did all kinds of wild things. It's like, oh, that would be called, crazy, crazy person. But that's a story for Schwab. They said, oh, we had an elder.
Mm.
Actually, I worked with a family that they started their enterprise. Their grandpa had a cave, and he created tours of the cave, and then he created restaurant of the cave, and then he started other things. He figured people like entertainment, so he started these are the people that have seven giant enterprises now. But it wasn't, oh, stupid grandpa, but it's like, look what he did. Support and reformulate the old story. Tell the story. This we are built for storytelling. We are animals of storytelling. So
Mm.
this thing is very important. So the coherence, it's storytelling, it's narrative. Talk about your elders, tell stories, that stuff. The
Mm.
next one is control. And this is where you find the little things, where you didn't wait for permission. Actually, one of the stories that I'll share with you a little bit is let's see, just trying to there was a family that had three siblings that are waiting for dad to come forward and tell them what his future vision was,
Mm.
but he didn't want to talk about it. And the consultant sort of said, okay, so what are you waiting for? Why can't you meet? See, that was like, oh, can we meet without dad? Oh, yes, we're adults. We know how to go to a hotel and get a room. We can meet, and so start meeting anyway. They started to meet and what surprised them was they generated newfound trust and energy with each other. They talked about stuff because they were all waiting for daddy to let them have this meeting. And one day the father says, are you guys still meeting? And they
Yeah.
said yes. He says, can I come? So this
Okay.
is this is that create it. This is that start it. Take control. Don't wait for permission. You don't have to be the small things. And you can't fix everything. And courage to take action about something,
Mm.
even the small steps. See, that's the other thing. People don't lose weight in gigantic numbers. They lose it by ounces.
Mm.
So listen to how the body does things, and begin to, oh, I was 10% more entrepreneurial today.
Mm.
So often this is about taking a risk to make a change and doing something. And okay, let's go to the centered capacity.
Mm.
This is that I'm working with somebody right now who's actually a self-made wealth builder, is gone through a liquidity experience by his own wanting. And
Mm.
now he doesn't know who he is. It's like it may sound funny or hard, but it's like he doesn't know how to self-reflect. He's the kind of person, he went to school and he had a job. He was working 1 week after school. He has
Mm.
never had, we have to call it something, the sabbatical. That's what an adult takes. They don't just go hang out. He has to have a project and a thing. It's like, a postdoc or something. And he's really in danger of burning out.
Mm.
And can't sleep, and all that kind of stuff too. you know he doesn't know how to self-regulate in without all this structure around him. And so I coach him while he walks his dog, because one of the things, if he's sitting, he gets very, what am I going to do? And he's always a fine engineer mind, is making, diagrams and stuff. I said, we're going to go out. He walks his dog and I listen, we talk. So it's like I get his feet on the ground, I get him looking at the out. So creating calm and balance, basically, how to add that to in little teeny pieces. One of the things that people, I have no time for, this stuff. I said, do you have 30 seconds? So one of the things this guy has been doing is he's done a 7-week mental fitness boot camp, and he has an app that goes with it, and it pulses him to do 15 minutes in small pieces
Mm.
of that reflection. You know, it asks a question or does this, or he gets to write his progress. So it's his coach with him all the time, but he's really changing to support himself. His high demands are internal about what am I going to do next.
Mm.
So this is the equipping yourself with really good mental fitness skills. And it's like, even if you walk up the stairs, how do you breathe? Walk up the stairs to your next meeting. Don't take the elevator. Walk up and breathe on each step.
Mm.
So things that are small and can be put into your day.
Mm.
So this centered capacity, your ability to take yourself into a different part of your brain where you're not triggered and anxious all the time. So what not mindfulness or all that stuff is the same stuff. It's just, can you do it fast?
Mm.
Can you do it between calls? How do you put your feet on the ground and calm yourself? So this is a core piece that resilient people now do.
Mm.
And actually, some people, it's prayer, it's all kinds of things. People have always had ways that they calm themselves. And so whatever you do, some people wash the dishes or they vacuum the floor, or, you make something that gives you a way to become centered.
Mm.
So the next one is all this challenge stuff. And people say, oh, I need to be resilient, I have too much challenge. Well, basically, this is part of a resilient person, family, team. They do stuff anyway. They
Mm.
say, oh, or they set themselves a stretch goal and then they explore options. Or what kind of businesses could we go into? Actually, this is a good example. Worked with a spouse who was involved in the business all along, but she had no formal training. She was in an advisory role and she never had worked. But all of a sudden, her husband dies, and unexpectedly. And she looked at the situation and, at midlife, and she said, I'm going to be the CEO. She said, I've been in this other role for a long time, very steep learning curve, very tough, a lot of humility needed, a lot of asking, a lot of being willing to learn as she went, and set up a new board of directors. So actively encourage yourself. This is where a coach can be helpful, where you're trying to do something and You just, how do you break it down into steps? How do you move this forward? So bridge the gap. Resilient people figure out, oh, I want to go here, and they don't diminish themselves. Oh, I'll never be there. I'll start. I'll start. I'll start. I'll start. So the last one is this is the connection. And we are hardwired to be with people. That's how we survive. I mean, some people go out and be hermits, but basically being belonging to a group. This is why shunning or throwing you out of the clan or the group is so threatening to people, because we need relationships. We need people to talk to give us feedback, to remind us that we are resilient, that, express gratitude to us about what we do for the family or whatever. This is most important, and I find often people work so hard that they don't take time to build this one, or they have a big disruption, um, and they have to all of a sudden, who am I going to talk to? And so this is another place, if you feel, kind of at loose ends, get yourself somebody to talk, get some friends. This is why these things like this, these meetings, it's like I keep saying, Dennis, now you make the community of the people who do this, because then they talk among themselves after after they get off these kind of calls.
Yeah.
So basically, strategies and steps for next gens and founders. Anticipate, embrace VUCA. It's here. We're not going back. There's no back to go to. We don't know where we're going, and we have to go. This is the eldering. This is the leading in a very turbulent time. Remember that you're already resilient.
Mm.
You already know this stuff. You have already made stories, coherence. You took control. You self-challenged yourself. You calmed yourself down, whatever you did, and you reached out to people.
Mm.
And your job as a leader is to buffer the social threat, the scarf that comes from your change and initiation.
Mm.
And if I was to say one last thing, is help yourself first, because everybody kind of turns, and don't deplete your own ecosystem capacity. You are the keystone species in your ecosystem
Mm.
as a leader in a family or whatever. And so people need you to be well resourced.
Mm.
So all that stuff is for yourself first. And many, many leaders have not had experience, leadership development programs, whatever, or schools. It's like we often didn't teach people how to do that stuff, but now we can learn that stuff. So basically, you're on the resilience journey.
Mm.
And this is the VUCA side of all kinds of stuff is going to keep happening.
Mm.
And go over to this other side, walk around, notice it's curvy. There's probably, I should have driven, more holes in the path, and you don't know where you're going, but you have some kind of skills and tools. That's my hope, that you have a little better understanding of what's going on in the world, what is resilience, and how do you generate it.
Mm.
So thank you. It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia.
Good, good.
Uh,
Are there, I hit it right up. I'm sorry, I didn't leave time. I'll be glad to stay on and answer questions. I don't have a
yeah,
time
we'll have
stop.
question and answer times. This
Okay,
could extend for a bit of more time. So thank you so much for the amazing presentation. Much
good.
reflections for family business leaders, and especially the next generation, and saying that we are more resilient than we think. And
Mhm.
and I think maybe getting more time to do reflections, we'll get to realize that we faced a lot of challenges, but here we are. So how did we do that? That means that we are more resilient. Thank you for touching on that. And as it said in the airplane, as a safety rule, it said face your own mask first before you help others. So you
Yes.
ended on that note that we have to take care of ourselves first before we try to help, because the onus lies on us to be resilient.
Yeah.
Owner resilience has a lot to do with organizational resilience. And in family business, we also say that the family's resilience has a lot to do with the family business. So we have to
Right.
be resilient. And I want us to touch on centered capacity. And
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned it, in our presentation in Boston for Africa, we
Mm-hmm.
tried to demystify spirituality on the continent.
Mm.
Um, so we know spirituality in the field, we know spirituality to be being right with your purpose, having your vision
Mm-hmm.
right, and all these.
Mm-hmm.
But on the continent, when we say spirituality, it may mean, so I'll give you an example. A next generation spoke to me and said, my mom wakes up very early in the morning around 4 a.m., goes to the business and do her business spiritual incantations before business
Yes.
starts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so will I be able to have that spiritual fortitude to carry on the business? Because for mommy, for you
Mm-hmm.
to be capable means that spiritually you have to be strong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them also use prayer and
Yes.
using reading the Bible, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
another religion, going for religious,
Guidance.
religious activities and all that to touch
Mm-hmm.
base with themselves. But it's also an avenue for people to also take advantage of their families and the affluent families, you
Mm.
know. So I want us to touch on that area because it's a hot area on the continent.
Mm.
Uh, for us, we believe that spirituality is a very good point for you to have centered capacity. But
Mm-hmm.
how do we make sure that we are doing it well? For people not to take advantage of us, for us not to have it in the wrong way for family businesses.
Ooh, a deep question, Dennis. You, the first part is easier because I would say that people who have centered capacity, and I've tried to give it a term that is inclusive to all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
I said prayer, some people dance, some people, this guy walks with his dog, it's like whatever gets you your sense of guidance.
Mm.
Where do you go for your guidance? And I think this part, they never talk about this in MBA program, but it's like people, where do you go to get a sense of what you should do?
Mm.
And I think it's that stillness, that quiet, you know, whatever is your practice
Yeah.
that does that. Some people meditate, some people go out and run, some people write in their journal for 3 pages. There's so many different ways that people come back to themselves, especially in the light of being in a business. It's very busy. How do you start your day? And I think that's the other thing about neuroscience
Yeah.
is like your morning practice is very important.
Mm.
And what is your mental fitness practice? And it could be your incantations, it could be any of those things. I work with somebody who prays, she's a
Mm.
very serious executive. And, she says, I won't go without my morning prayer because
Mm.
I need it to center myself.
Mm.
So I'm trying to give it less what kind of thing you do is up to you. But if you don't have any way to touch, to to ask yourself and your higher guidance.
Mm.
And so I'm not sure about this thing with the manipulation in the family. It's like
Yeah.
unless they come in and say, I have the answer and this is what we should do. That's kind of like
Yeah, so
because
that's what happens if you don't get time to get in touch with yourself, because if
yeah,
somebody suggests a solution, you should be quick to also check with your inner self to know
yes.
whether what you are doing is right. So it's very important, guys, that we give time for touching
Mhm.
base, being calm and touching base with ourselves and having a centered capacity. We have some few questions in the chat
Okay,
box.
sure,
Let's
absolutely.
address it
You
and we can
you
end it.
good. Good.
All right.
Okay.
So Kelvin says that how do you turn repeated failure into strength building experience?
Repeated failure is, first of all, what is failure?
Mm,
Failure is what opportunities for learning have you had? And it's what have, there's two kinds. One is repeated failure of the same thing. That is like something's wrong there. It's like you
mm,
keep, but what did you do? What did you learn from each thing? Oh, I tried this. I did this startup. I did this website. I did
yeah,
this. What did you learn? See, what you said, Dennis, take some time to process at the end and say, what did I learn? Rather than just run off and do it again.
yeah.
So repeated failure without capturing the learning
Mm,
is stupid. I
mm.
mean, or what it is, I'll just say it's a neural pathway where you
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing over and over again and you have the same result. So
Mm,
your brain is saying, oh, if I just, work myself to death and I will be successful.
mm,
No, that's not going to work. So you have to kind of open up that questioning to yourself. But failure, we're so afraid of failure and we're always worried. And change makers always goof. I
mm,
mean, it's like we fall forward.
mm.
If you don't fall forward, then you're not taking enough risk.
Yeah.
So I think there's some kind of multiple failure. I would work on the coherence thing about what story are you telling yourself
Mm,
about that.
mm.
I
Great.
don't know.
Great.
Okay.
And Kevin has another question.
Okay.
What are the earliest signs that someone is losing resilience? And how can they correct? So I think we touched on this a bit in the first exposition that I introduced
Hmm.
because resilience comes with doing a lot of reflections, touching base with yourself. And Cynthia has suggested some, not suggest, but mentioned some of the activities that she knows has helped some people. So what is it about? Is it prayer? Is it walking in nature, going to the beach?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
you know, going to church,
Yeah.
going to a
Or going
religious
to
meeting.
enjoyment, go travel, go do something, stretch yourself in a way that you haven't stretched. Take up a new sport, try collage. I don't,
Yeah.
but I think what you're looking for, you're kind of onto the burnout stuff. And
Mm,
burnout is when it's not fun anymore, when there's no good days. And the other thing is you can't get rid of burnout by going to the spa or
mm,
having a vacation.
mm,
You have to redo your values and your coherence. It's like something is turning brown. It is not carrying you forward,
mm,
or that your body will do something to you. You'll get some weird immune disease or something will happen and you'll have to say, okay, what does this mean to me?
yeah.
A lot of people don't know, and your signals will be different than anybody else's.
Mm,
So, but sooner or later, your body will say, this is not working.
yeah.
Or you'll have your
Thank you.
heart attack, and someone will say, you have to eat differently.
Mm, yeah, thank you, Kelvin, for the great questions. We have a last question, then we leave.
Mhm.
Question from Gabi says, when a family member suddenly step into a leadership role, what is the first step the person has to take? What is the first step? New role, first step.
I go back to the first 90 days. It's maybe not a first step, but the first 90 days,
Okay.
the smartest leaders go and find out what's going on.
Mm,
They go out to the plants, they go out here, they have town halls, they listen. They don't come with some big change plan. They
mm,
take time to listen to the organization.
okay.
And as you said, digest what they're hearing.
Mm,
And you're looking at an ecosystem and saying what's really well connected
mm,
and what's not being nourished.
mm,
So those are the kind of questions when I work with a leader, it's just starting. It's like, what does success look like? That's the question
okay.
you ask everybody.
Mm,
What would my success look like?
yeah.
What would you see, hear, what would change, or what would you hope that I could be able to instigate with you?
Mm,
So that's an onboarding, that's self-onboarding. Most people don't take that time. They jump right into making decisions and looking like a leader. A
mm,
real leader enters a system and listens.
okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. Lovely.
All
Fun.
right.
Always fun. Let's do
Yeah.
this more. I love what you're doing, and love what people are grappling with and
Mm.
showing up for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, an announcement before we leave. I don't know if you see my screen. Do you see my screen for the Africa Family Business Summit 2026?
I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe that
Okay.
I will I think I have to stop sharing. Then you get your screen back. Okay.
Okay. So that's okay. All right. Thank you very much. So, our next conversation will be in February. Thank you very much, Cynthia, for making
Okay.
time very early in the morning in San Francisco for this meeting. Our next meeting will be in February, guys. So, keep the calendar open for us. We'll keep you updated with the dates, specific dates and time. Our flagship event, the Africa Family Business Summit 2026, which is growing bigger and bigger with a lot of community around
Yay.
it and then people coming on board, learning more about family businesses. You cannot miss the Africa Family Business Summit 2026. It will be held on the 18th and 19th of June 2026 in Ghana, Accra.
Okay.
The theme is family business succession. But the,
Mm,
the overarching topic for discussion will be managing tradition and innovation
mm,
conflicts in transitions. So managing tradition and innovation conflicts in transitions. It will be held at the Palms by Eagle Hotel. Kindly register early. Now we've had some people registering and paying. So you have to hurry and book and pay. So, but when you visit www.afbssummit.org, you can register. You see all the information that you need there. And we invite you to follow Africa Family Business Summit on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X. We'll be glad to have you and to share. The amazing things are happening on our socials, so kindly follow us. As a way of information, we'll send you the slides and the recorded um, um, audio for this meeting. So we'll share in your emails. That's why we took your registration details. So we send them to you. Thank you very much and have a great evening. Thank you, Cynthia.
thank
Have,
you. Thank
have
you.
a wonderful
Thank
day.
you, Dennis. Okay, great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Lovely to see
Say
you.
hi
Take
to
care.
Dennis for me.
I
And
will.
guys,
I
I
will.
also mentioned I met Cynthia in Boston in October, and she dashed me this book, Living Your Values, an amazing book. That will be my first book for 2026.
Ah,
So reach
okay.
out to me. If you need a copy, let's have a conversation. We can also have discussions around the book. So this is my first book for 2026.
Okay.
I hope
Thank
you also
you.
grab your
Thank you.
copy early, then we start and have discussions around it.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so
All
much,
right. Good
guys.
day. Good
Thank
day.
you.
Love you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.